Hello, Spirit Familia. I am coming on here to share my testimony, my story, how I came to be where I am today, how I come to do the practices and services I do now, how I see the world today, and how I see the world is really the same thing as saying how I see myself. And it is the same thing as saying how I see God. And that's something I didn't know before or understand before. The way we see the world, the way we see ourselves, and the way we see God is all interconnected. What we believe about God, what we believe about love, about humans, the love we hold, our purpose here, and what we believe. So each one of those are interdependent on also what we believe about ourselves. I've come here just as I am, no makeup, no show, no perfect editing, because I'm also a single mom, doing what I can, making the best of what I have, and still showing up to share on YouTube. This is something I proposed for myself, and I encourage you that if you've had this feeling, this call, this internal pull to show up on YouTube with your story, with your services, with your knowledge, whatever it may be that can help, that can aid, that can assist others, and including yourself, because as we assist others, as we serve others, we serve ourselves. Yeah, in the most fulfilling way, right? So I encourage you to do that. So this is me showing up in this way because I did a video where I'm explaining the story of my awakening, and I feel sometimes it's helpful to do in different moments, in different days. We have clearer ideas, we have more succinct explanations about what happened, what's going on. And I just want to share about that experience, what brought me to here. So today, let me introduce myself. I am Stefania Dominguez, and I am joining you here to serve in whatever capacity I can, right? To be here to love, to extend the love that I've learned that I am and that we all are. And, sharing the story of awakening is helpful. I know it was helpful for me to hear the stories of others who've been through this path, who've gone through the dark night of the soul, who've discovered love, who've discovered God, who've discovered Jesus, Buddha, whatever form, way shower has come up for you. For a long time, Buddha was, I wasn't Buddhist per se. Excuse me, a little something. I wasn't Buddhist per se. Ooh, phone's ringing. Hold on. Dang. Okay, I guess I had to edit that part out. The phone that I work with started ringing, and I'm not on phone duty right now, so let me gather my thoughts. Buddha. So I wasn't Buddhist per se, but I did do a lot of Buddhist practices because I found them fascinating, and it was perfectly helpful for me on the path of coming to know the truth about goodness and love, and being exposed to practices that would bring me to a state of stillness, right? That would bring me to connect with the present moment, to become aware of sensations in my body, to slow down right? The busyness of the mind, and really connect with what is going on right now. And so this was very helpful. Also, a lot of meditation, gone into deep meditation practices and retreats. And yeah, it really expanded, and it was very helpful on the journey to discover the love of God that I've discovered, specifically in time 5 years ago. But you discover it every day in a new way. It's a living presence that we carry within us and that we bring forward, actually, that we access. I like to call it like a fountain. It's like a fountain of love and light that resides deep within us, like a well, right? It's a well. And we have valves covering it, and those valves are all blockages, belief systems, limiting beliefs, past concepts, societal conditioning and programming that have all blocked this well of light, of love, of freedom, of eternal joy, right? Of oneness. And so, how did I come to discover that eternal freedom and joy and oneness? I have been a professional musician, singer-songwriter for most of my life, over 20 years of my life, over 25, studied it, went to Berklee College of Music, did the whole thing, and made it my career. You know, I sang professionally around the world, lived in Germany for many years, and moved around all of Europe performing and collaborating and songwriting and writing songs for other artists and doing the whole thing. But always with the goal in mind to get my music out, to get my career to the next level, to become that international star, performer, you know? But in the year of 2020, after becoming a mom, I had my daughter in 2018, which in and of itself was a beautiful healing process, you know, to enter a new, you know, it was something I healed. I had a real deep fear of being a mom, and how was I going to do music? And, you know, even before getting pregnant, like just the idea of being a mom and wanting to do my career was like, no, I wanted to establish my career and then, and then become a mom once everything was established, right? That's the plan. But you know that, as that saying goes, if you want to make God laugh, make a plan. And that was my plan. If I was to have children, it was going to happen later. And it didn't happen that way. And I learned to ride the wave. I learned to accept what was being given me and not resist it. And 2 years after that, and so at the same time, as you can imagine, I had, you know, this new life forming inside of me. And then when it was born, it was just like she was everything. She brought me into the present moment. I lived everything so slowly with her. She's learning about the world, right? Like, imagine just coming into a world and looking at everything, and you observe children and they become these beautiful mirrors of innocence and joy and neutrality. And so this was just beautiful to observe. And at the same time, I'm here in my career, going, doing the next collaboration, booking the next performances, you know, even doing projects, writing for other artists, writing with producers, all of that. And in 2020, so my daughter's 2 years old now, right? She was born in 2018. She would be 2 years old at this point. I get the opportunity, given the whole COVID situation, I get the opportunity to go deep into my music. In other words, like really release a lot of songs. And I had a lot of things that aligned, right? Like my partner and husband at the time was super savvy with technology and a lot of different things, and did camera and drones, and he was into all of it. And so he assisted me, and we did like that with other photo shoots, like just a whole lot of different people got involved, assisted, became part of the project. And I was able to release about 3 to 5 songs within a year span. And by like the 4th song, right? Because now I'm doing something like in a repeated pattern back to back. I'm not spreading it out over time, over a couple years or a couple months and then taking a break and then living life. No. I did it back to back to back because it's the time I had. I had a lot of unreleased music that I wanted to get out. It was like, here we go. And that was probably one of the best things that I inadvertently didn't know would help me wake up, would help me realize the truth of what I was getting myself into. So, get the song out, release it, record it, release it, do all the things that you have to do to release it, mix, master it, perfect it, edit, go in the studio as many times as you need to. All that part with the production, with the producer, then get it out, then make photos, then, then market it, then then make a video, do all the things so that the look is right and, everything's looking good, the whole package, because, every music thing is a package and you sell it. And so putting it out there, getting everything perfect, and then marketing it to the world, and then publishing it, making the video, putting it out to the world, and promoting the heck out of it, investing in that, and then waiting for the world to say they approve. And waiting for the world to give you a yes, to like it, to show me that I deserved what I believed I deserved. To show me my worthiness, pretty much. I never saw it like that before until I had done it that many times back to back. Because I got to a point where I was like, wait, what am I doing here? What is this? What is the point of all of this? Is this what I'm going to be doing? Is this what this can't be what I signed up for. This cannot be what I've dedicated 20 years of my life to then become and do. To do this. I felt like a hamster in a wheel. Just on the worthiness hamster, right? Like, do this, do that, all with good intention, making songs that were going to empower women, coming from a place of self-empowerment and love, all of that. And yet, my desire was always to get to that place, always to be seen by the world and approved by the world. Hold on, the air is loud. Let me take a moment. And so it was like, this is what I'm going to do? Is this really what it's about? I kind of just saw it, like this bigger picture. And I was so fulfilled at the end. Like every time I'm trying to get this approval, get this thing that I'm hoping for the world to love it. Even Bad Bunny, he made a video recently about none of us artists can deny that at the end of the day, we hope and we make this so that people like it, right? Because you're making it for others in the sense that that's really what's happening. And you never know what's on the other side. And that's okay too. But it's it just became this clear thing that I hadn't seen before. And I was feeling so unfulfilled about it. This is not what I signed up for. This is not bringing me the peace that I thought I would get. This is not bringing me the freedom and the definition of success. So it was I started to ask myself the bigger questions, what is it that I really want? If this is not giving it to me, and I'm clearly getting there, I'm clearly gaining more traction, and I'm on my way to that goal, quote unquote goal, that in the end is always changing and never ends, right? It never ends. There's never enough, and you get to something else and you make a new goal. But I was, right? It was building, so I could have continued. And for what? I just realized, for what? What is it that I truly want? What I truly want is, peace, like feeling a sense of fulfillment, rest, joy, like freedom, abundance. That's what I wanted. And that's what I thought music was going to give me. And that's what I thought the music industry would provide for me, because that's the programming that we get, right? Through all this TV stuff, through all this celebrity, like I was never told that there was another option, another way to be a musician in the world, right? Just like we were never told of another way of being with God than without religion, right? Religion was the institution, and we learned of God through the institution, and therefore God is defined by the institution, and we accept that definition, and then we move forward with that. And and as we live life, maybe we sway, turn away or go forward or go deeper, but it's always based on this idea, this anthropomorphic idea of God, right? And which is, a man separated from us kind of thing. No one taught us, because that institution was the one that spread the idea. It's sort of like they had a claim on the idea of God, a claim on Jesus. And so that's why I have the other video that's called Jesus Reclaimed, where I'm kind of telling this story, but I'm sharing other aspects as well. Because no one has a claim on love. No one has a claim on God. No one has a claim on Jesus and his story and his teaching. Nobody does. And yet we learn of it that way, and we just accept it as if it was that way. And the same thing with the music industry. That's becoming clear to me now. Like, the music industry was the programming about how, it could be any industry, right? But specifically for me, the music industry was like how you can be a musician in the world, what you have to do, how you have to change yourself, how you have to make sure your body, your look is what you have to value to become this and then be successful in this. That is the programming. This is the institution, and you accept it and you go with it. You participate, right? You participate in the church, in the institution of Catholicism, Christianity, whatever it may be, or you participate in the music industry and its ideas and ideologies and control. Two forms of control over ideas that in and of themselves are not, no one can really control. But as we grow up in the world, from kids to becoming adults, we see whatever we see, we take as truth, we take as possibility, we take as example, and we learn and we take notes, mental notes, right, of what we want to become or how to deal with this. And so that is everything that we're exposed to. And then I just knew that this was not the way that I wanted to do this anymore, that something was completely off, that I was going after something that really wasn't there. And that's the mirage. That's the mirage that, the industry builds, this idea of getting there, of the success, of making it there, like it's a peak of a mountain. And once you reach that peak, everything is done and taken care of. And that's a complete illusion, right? Or my favorite word, it's a mirage. I used this word when I talked about my story in the first talk I did right after my awakening. I clearly felt like it was a mirage. I realized that I was on my way to get my water. Like, the music industry had sold me this idea of fresh water in the middle of the desert. And I thought that was the only place I could get it. And I would go there, right? This is what I wanted to be. This is where my happiness was. This is where my joy would lie. This is where my freedom and abundance is, through the thing that I loved to do, which was music. And then attach it to the, receiving all of that, getting, on the wheel of getting all of it, the seeking, right? All of it to come to the point that when you get to it, it disappears because it's not really there. Because it was just an idea in your mind. It was a concept you made. And yes, we may reach certain milestones in our lives that we get to, and we feel the joy and the, that ecstasy but it's fleeting. Maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, maybe a year or so. If we're talking about relationships, that part is fleeting. That is not the eternal part. That is not the consistency we're actually looking for. The deep prayer of the heart is for consistent freedom, for a consistent joy, a consistent love. That's what we want, and we're looking for it in everything in the world. But for me, it started coming to know all of this and breaking this all down started through my awakening through music, right? Through being a musician per se. And so this is how I realized, what am I doing? I am a hamster in the wheel. I mean, I had a flash before my eyes, look at all these artists. Look at everybody who I admire or who I look up to or who I in one version or another, want to be in their position, right? Are these people happy? Are they satisfied? Right? Are they at peace? All these people, right? Like Shakira, Beyonce, let's put all of them in there. Justin Bieber, Demi Lovato, Shawn Mendes, just all these people. Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, let's go. Those are the ones that I grew up with. Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake. Let's look at all of them and see what's really happening. And it was just I couldn't answer a yes for any of that, for any of them. Are they at peace? No. Are they fulfilled? It doesn't really seem like it. I mean, I can't know for sure in the center of their hearts, but it is an evidence. There is a overwhelming evidence, right? That there's just more seeking, right? There's just the next thing. 2 Grammys is not enough. You need 5. 5 Grammys is not enough. You need 20. You need to break million subscribers is not enough. You need 10 million. Once you get enough Grammys, then you want to do the Super Bowl. Once you do the Super Bowl, then you want to go into acting. And then it just always continues to go. And it's not to say that in itself is wrong. It's just the reality of what is actually happening. And we believe, we are deceived to believe that those actual things will bring us this sustaining joy, this sustaining happiness, this sustaining love. And the only thing that can sustain it is true love, which is a state of being. And that true love comes, in my experience, through getting to know God. Through getting to know love itself, because God and love are one, inextricably one thing, just 2 different words that explain one thing. And it's the true meaning of love, right? And so, yeah, it was just I'm so thankful today. I'm so thankful to the industry, to my past, to everybody who helped me and followed my dream with the music and everything, and to myself even for following that, because even that was a part of me getting to where I am now. Even that was a part of me getting to here, to this discovery of freedom, to showing up here for you today to share the story that this is how the music industry freed me, because it led me to God. And not because it wasn't on purpose, clearly. It led me to unhappiness. It led me to dissatisfaction, and led me to unfulfillment. That would be the best way to say it. And that state of unfulfillment, dissatisfaction, discomfort, darkness, right? Void. That state led me to then stop everything, question everything, including, well, who am I? If I'm not a musician, if I'm not a singer, right? I stopped everything. I stopped my socials. I stopped everything. So once I stopped all of that, I stopped singing. I stopped because I knew I had discovered something, and that what I was doing with the music was not giving me what I truly wanted. And so I had to take a full step back. That was clear to me. That was the next right step, just to completely step back, to get off socials, to stop pretending like something's going on, like I am some musician or some artist, when I no longer knew if that was true or if that's what I wanted anymore. And so I just completely stepped back from everything. And I took like a year and a something break from socials completely. And that was the year of the most freedom that I had felt in my life. The moment I took off the role of being an artist, the moment I took off that heaviness, that pressure of becoming what I always thought myself to become, of that dream that I needed, the moment I took it off of my list, whether it would be temporary, permanent, I didn't know, but that wasn't my concern. My concern was just to do what I knew was important to do next. The moment I did that, I felt such relief. Like a weight had been taken off my shoulders. Like I was floating. I'm doing dishes and I'm feeling like in heaven, doing dishes. Just being at home with my daughter, living literally moment to moment, because I no longer had this future goal, this thing I had to prove to myself and the world. You see how both of those are intertwined? I had to prove it to myself, which meant to prove it to the world. I had to prove it to the world, which meant, in essence, proving it to myself. And it was myself, my egoic self, right? Like me feeling that I'm worthy, that I have a reason, that I have some sort of identity here that the world can acknowledge and see and recognize. And once I felt that weight go, I started to do things. It was simultaneous. I already knew that I had desires to go deeper spiritually because it has always been a part of my life. I've been a yoga instructor, meditation practitioner, did a lot of things and always felt very open to this idea of something beyond us, even though God, the word God itself, it had a charge for me. I couldn't reconcile it yet. I couldn't reconcile it because of how I grew up, with an academic, scientific father. My mom was always a spiritual seeker, so I kind of had those two sides. And I also went to school, Catholic school, and all of my questions and the things that just didn't make sense for me, didn't reconcile since I was a child, since I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all that window of time. And my questions were always dismissed, and so you just kind of, what I did was throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you couldn't explain to me these things or give me space to learn about, what God really is, because if I'm understanding it, it's all encompassing. It's all, this overarching, complete, whole love. And then you're telling me that it's got like this enemy and this, this guy who kind of can compete at that level and then has the power to take away God's power, even though he's all powerful, all knowing. And that just didn't make sense to me. And those questions never got asked. But in this moment of reckoning, awakening, that I took, that I didn't know I was going into, but I was being led first by letting go my industry, my musical identity, my artist identity, first releasing that, then stepping into presence, and then opening myself up, right? This was the practice. These were the choices I made. I opened myself up to learn about God because it was something that had a trigger for me. I had resistance to it. I had a charge. There's different ways of saying it, right? And so I was like, okay, let me look at this. Why do I feel like this? And, there were a lot of people around me who reflected that, and I was able to look at that deeper and understand, okay, what is it that I'm believing here? Why do I have a difficulty? Why is universe okay, but the word God is not okay, right? And it was all my ideas and concepts of what God was. I thought it had to do with what other people would think of me, but it has first and foremost to do what I think of me if I use the word God. And that is intertwined with what I think other people think of the word God. Imagine that. Talk about like full-blown people pleasing, right? And that then comes up, all those patterns then start coming up when you start discovering this stuff, when you start opening yourself up to the truth, to God, you start unraveling all the patterns, egoic patterns that have limited you, that have kept you where you are, that have led you to experiences, and you start to break free one by one. And so that time that I had now, free, present, with my daughter, waking up early with, just for myself, I decided to do something that I never thought I would do. And that was to read the Bible. And to step 31:31 when I said that. To read the Bible, something that I had such resistance towards. I mean, if I had a resistance towards the word God, imagine my resistance towards the word Jesus, or just the idea. And the Bible is just like all of it together, right? Coming from a very academic, philosophic background. And yeah, I just made a new choice. And I remember having resistance. I still bought it. I looked up online, because I wanted to know, okay, let's figure this out, this thing about God. Who is God? What is God? And I remember I would listen to some preachers here and there because I really resonated deeply with them, even though it wasn't so much about the institution, but so much more about the content of the message they were sending. And when I loved it, I loved it. I didn't judge where it was coming from, or who, what church they were doing, or what their greater belief or foundational belief was. I just loved and accepted the message that was given when it really connected with me. And I remember them talking a lot about because talking to God and speaking to God. And I just thought okay, or getting to know God. And I literally went on Google and I was like, how to get to know God. And the response was, to get to know God, you have to read his word. And I was like, okay, so what's his word? And that's when I realized, I was like, oh, the Bible is his word. That's what most of us know, okay? At a global level, we can all agree that that's the one we know. Even though I came to discover a newer word, because God reaches us in all times, in all places. He's not limited to the Bible. Yeah, she is not limited to the Bible. You see, even me using he or she is limiting the concept of what God is, because God is an abstract. The closest thing we can think of is like wind and light, right? Like it's something that we can't grasp, that cannot be put in a box, that is everywhere and nowhere. So interesting. Anyways, and so I looked that up, and it tells me to get to know his word, to read his word. And I was like, okay. And I opened myself up. I order a Bible. And I remember when I finally actually sit down in the morning to do it, I tell myself, okay, Steph, you're going to read this, and you're going to read this like someone gave you this book and you have no idea what it says. Because I knew I had my own judgments. I knew I had past concepts about the Bible. That's why I had all the resistance I had, literally, right? So, sorry, trying to fix my bun here. So it was I need to do this differently. I knew I needed to do this differently. It makes me think of that quote by Albert Einstein. If you want different results, Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So basically, if you want different results, if you want to experience something new, then you have to do something new. You have to come from an internally new place. And so that's what I did with this book. Yeah, and it changed everything. Having the willingness to look at it in such a neutral and open light. Like if a girlfriend had given it to me and said, hey, check out this book. It's got some really cool stories in it. I'm pretty sure you're going to love them. Something like that, that would make it exciting enough to open, but like open enough to not have any opinion on anything. And that changed it, changed everything for me. I was led to the Gospels and I started reading Jesus's teachings, and I could feel a new sense of knowing, understanding. And I started taking notes, and I felt like I was being revealed truths that I had never understood before. And I just knew in the depths of my heart that Jesus was the most misunderstood man of all time, right? He has by far been misunderstood by so many, even many who read the Bible, right? Because it's about the perception. It's about the mind that's reading it. It's about the person, the interpretation that is being given to whatever word is in front of you. I didn't know that then, but I know it now. This is 5 years later, right? So a lot has integrated for me. A lot of my journey, darkness has been alchemized, clarity has come, understanding. And even then, Spirit gave me understanding and revelations that I didn't even know I was receiving, automatic journaling and writing of journals upon journals of things and parables and things that I learned, that I saw in my daily life. And I feel the call. I know I have to do this. There is a fear, and I will step forward to share that with the world, to make that a book, these parables and these stories that have beautiful lessons in there about love. Within the mother, the mother role, within the wife role, within the daily life. But this all came after this time of reading, after this time of deeply taking in the teachings, of going into etymology and being fascinated. If you know me, you know that I love languages, and I've taught languages, and I love, music, languages, all the things that have to do with communication have been huge for me. And going into the root of the words was really powerful, right? Finding out that sin in Greek actually means missing the mark. What? Missing the mark? How much weight does that take off of us? It's missing the mark. Yeah, and Jesus was the one who was saying, hey, I got the mark. I figured it out. I know where the mark is. I got it. Follow me and I'll show you. I'll show you the mark. You're making choices that are just allowing you to miss the mark. With your choices, you're missing the mark. Make a new choice. Come with me. I can show you the truth. And I can show you that that truth is within you, beyond it, right? Not external to you. Yeah. The kingdom of heaven is within. Within. And so we all carry it. And we have this light to shine. And I came to discover this, and it just became my thing. And I couldn't get enough of his words and his teaching. And I just had an overwhelming sense of love and joy and innocence. I saw everything different. It changed my perspective on everything. I saw everything different. So much so that I hadn't watched TV in a while, and I came across a documentary of murderers and their life sentences, right? And this would reenact, imagine something like, what's that scary? Unsolved Mysteries kind of thing, that kind of vibe. Old stuff would have never clicked into it. I just wouldn't have been interested. All this really intense, kind of scary, dark human stuff. And where I was, after receiving the teachings and the love and the purification of Jesus in my heart and mind, of the Spirit clarifying these teachings and showing me the truth of what was truly being said here, right? Talking about the poor, and we're talking about the poor pour in spirit, pour in knowledge, pour in, not just all of us have been so stuck on the form, the poor people with, like actually in poverty. And he's talking about spiritual poverty. Yeah, that's what he's really talking about. And so just again and again, all these things that we've learned since we were children, and now getting to see it in a new light, in the light of truth. And it just filled my heart to the brim. And it changed me forever. Going back to this documentary, I would see these murderers. I wanted to click in. I wanted to see, and I had so much love for them. I could see how they were children of God that had lost their way, that had really just missed the mark. No one told them where the mark was. No one could even show them that a mark existed, because the mark is love. The mark is God. And if we don't have examples of the mark, you better bet we're going to just be copying everybody else who's missing the mark. The programming, the parenting, the generational stuff is just going to pass down to us, because that's what we see, that's what we learn, that's what we take as true, and that is what we become and put out into the world. That is what we reflect. And so it was just, I had so much love for them. I just had so much love for every living thing. I became so connected to nature, so connected to children in ways that I was just changed radically. I could care less about how I looked. I knew that it wasn't the truth of who I was. And yet I could have fun, but I really didn't have an interest. I changed the way I dressed. I was just like in a new frequency. That's another way to say it. Like I was just in a new state of being, a new mind, a new earth was born within me. And it was given to me by Jesus, by accessing him. And he is a spirit. He is a symbol of the spirit. And one last thing, this is where I'm going to end this, because then we can take this further on another video, is that I had such a desire to know Jesus more and his story and his teachings more. But I felt that where I was in the Bible was just not doing that for me. And then I remembered, because I was living in my mom's apartment then. I had moved from my mom's apartment when I was pregnant. But then where we were, I had kept a lot of her books, and she had a lot of spiritual books. Remember, she was a spiritual seeker. And one of those books she had told me years ago, it was a blue book, and she told me, oh yeah, these are the lost teachings of Jesus that they didn't allow in the Bible. These are the teachings that have been lost for a long time. And yeah, the lost metaphysical spiritual teachings of Jesus. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, but it never like totally grasped me until this day. That day that I wanted more, and I wanted to go deeper, and I knew truths, and I was writing, and things were being revealed to me. In that time, I was like, where is that blue book? And that book is called A Course in Miracles. It is a channeled work, and it has truly forever changed my life. I wouldn't be surprised that I've already known this book in some other lifetime, but I was ready now to receive this. It was even in Spanish. Yeah, this is a very deep metaphysical, self-study spiritual text, psychotherapeutic spiritual text, channeled by God, by the Spirit, right? The mind of love, Jesus, teaching us through these teachings, really coming to the core of all, really dissecting and really teaching us what is blocking us from truth and what heaven truly is within us. And I opened up that book, and it was just like a wave of the ocean washing over and purifying me. I knew that this was the truth. I knew it in the depths of my heart. I knew Jesus was telling me, you've found it. You've found me. I have led you to the well. And it's not even about the book in the end, but it is the content that is being shared in the book. And today, 5 years later, I am happy to host an online session where we go deeper and study the book together, right? And we study these teachings. And both the Bible and the Course in Miracles have such beautiful, in-depth things to teach us. And yet, the mind, the eyes, the vision with which we receive these words makes all the difference on how we're actually going to receive, on what we're going to get, on if we have eyes to see, right? How Jesus would say, if we have ears to hear. Because we need that spiritual vision. If we're coming from egoic, fear-based vision, controlled, a vision, then we're not going to receive. That's what made the difference in my story. I was open, ready, non-judgmental, ready to receive truth, and it was handed to me. I was led to it. And this is where I am today. And we can talk more about the Course in Miracles in other videos. But this is my story, folks. And now I'm here, and this is a new journey on YouTube to share with you all. Whatever is coming to heart, to join with brothers and sisters in a deeper way. If this in any way resonated with you, if you have anything to share of your story, your testimony of how God has shined his love in your heart, her love in your heart, yeah? If anything comes up for you, in the mind, we're here. We're here to walk with each other. We're here to support each other and to remember who we are. That is my deepest prayer, that we can all remember who we are. And we hold each other's hand doing it. Sending you all so much love. Thank you for listening to my story. If you made it this far, let's do this. I like it when other people do this on YouTube. If you've made it this far, let's put some green hearts. Yeah, actually, I'm seeing a rainbow towel. I'm changing my mind. Let's do the rainbow, right? Because the rainbow is what shines after the storm, after the dark night. We get the rainbow. So, sending you all so much love, and until the next video.